In this video, I'll talk about the torque due to the multiple forces. So here, this is on an XY plane, and we have the different forces acting onto it. The force F1, force F2, F3, and F4. And all the forces are acting in the different directions. What we need to find out, what is the torque due to all these forces about the origin. And remember, torque is a vector quantity. Okay, so how do we calculate forces? Let's start with this one. So here are all the information given: the force, the radius, R1. So how do we know that R1 is 4 meters? You can see from this graph, R1, the distance. R1 is the distance from the force where we apply to the origin, or about the axis of rotation. And in this case, like for R2 is again 4 and R3 is again 5. So we have all the values here, and R4 is 3. So all the values are given. The torque is defined as a cross product of the position vector, or R vector, and the force vector. And as these two are the cross product, that means the torque is perpendicular to the plane of R vector and the F vector. That means the torque would be perpendicular to both R, and it should be also perpendicular to the force. And I will talk about it again. The magnitude of the torque is given by Rf sine theta, where theta is the angle between R vector and the F vector. And the direction, as I mentioned, the torque is a vector quantity, so the direction is given by the right hand curl rule. And I'll explain the right hand curl rule. So now let's come back here. Let's start with the F1. The force, this is the force and this is the position vector. The angle between them is 90 degrees. So the magnitude of the torque is given by R1, F1, and sine theta 1. The R1, as we already discussed, is 4. Force is 20 Newton. Sine 90 degree is 1. So if we multiply it together, it will be 80 Newton meter. That's the magnitude. How do we find out the direction? So in order to find out the direction, we can use the right hand rule. So in this case, the right hand rule is shown here. So use your right hand, and initially your palm, this palm, you should align your palm in the direction of the position vector and curl them in such a way that it is going from R vector to F vector. Your curl, you see the fingers should curl from R vector to F vector. In the direction it should curl. So if you do this way, then you will see that your thumb points in the downward direction. It is in the downward direction. Like if like into the paper or into the iPad. Okay. Or in order to also understand the other way of calculating this one is, let's say you have the bottle cap here. Now if I apply a force, this force here, right here, in which direction it will move? It will move downward, because when you try to turn in, at this point, it will move along this direction, which will push him into the paper, or in the downward direction, or it will close the water bottle or the Coca-Cola bottle. Okay, so this is another way of finding the direction of the torque. Again, if you apply the force here, it will move into this direction, that will push him into the downward direction. Or other words, the way of calculating this one is, the best way of calculating this one is your palm should point in the direction of the position vector, and then you should curl in the direction of the force. Okay, then you will immediately see that your thumb points in the direction of the torque, and in this case the torque is in the downward direction. When I say downward, that means you have to make a hole here and into the paper. Okay, so here I mentioned the curl is in the downward direction and into the paper and into the paper. The torque due to F2 now. Let's calculate this F2. So the angle between the position vector and the force is 45 degrees. So the torque due to F2 will be R2 F2 sine theta 2. R2 is again force is given 30, and you see the angle is 45 degrees. So sine 45 degrees, which will be 84.9. So calculating magnitude is pretty straightforward. Now let's again talk about the direction. So this force now, so if I apply a force, F2 force at this point, F2, what will this force do now? This force will make this, will open this one. It will open or it will move upward. So that means it will be coming out of the paper. The force will be out of the paper. Direction is out of the paper or upward. Okay, or if you align again the position vector, your palm in the direction of the position vector and curl it, you can clearly see your thumb points in the direction of the in the upward direction. So that's how you calculate the torque and the magnitude of the torque and the direction. Similarly, F3. The F3 now is 50 Newton, and the angle between them is in fact 75 degrees. So here, or 15 degrees. This is 15 degrees. So R3, F3, and sine theta 3. R3 is 5. Force is 15 Newton, and sine angle is 15 degrees. So if you calculate, this will give you the magnitude 19.4. Now in this case, let's talk about the direction. So if I apply a force here, so why I'm just choosing this direction or this direction. So if we apply a force here, what it will make the cap move in the downward direction. Or you can use the right hand rule to calculate the direction of the torque. So it says the downward direction. Similarly, due to F4 here, F4, R4, F4 sine theta 4, the position or the distance is 3, F4 is 20, sine theta 4 again is 90 degree. This angle is 90 degree here. So once you solve it, you'll get the 60 Newton meter. The torque, the unit is Newton meter. The total torque now, the net torque, is given by, we have to add all the upward torque and the downward torque. So this is the downward, we take as a negative, and the upward is positive. This is downward, so it's negative, and this is upward, so it's positive. So the total torque, the total net torque is 45.5, and it is in the upward direction. That means with all these forces, if you have this cap here, it will move in the upward direction. So this is how you calculate the torque due to the multiple forces. Again, calculating magnitude is easy, but when you calculate the direction, practice a little bit, just a little bit practice. If you just practice by yourself, you will understand it. So this is it from this video. Again, if you have any questions, write down your questions in the comment section below, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe the channel. Thank you very much.